I'm sent to a cabinet committee. It went through interministerial committee 2 weeks ago. Next week, we're preparing to take it to the cabinet committee. There's a special cabinet committee on this. From there, it will be passed by the whole cabinet. It's then that we can think about parliament.
Yes, I think we have a choice. Every country has a choice between two basic visions. One is a free society where people are responsible for their own lives and lifestyles and risks. And the other one is a controlled society where people are treated as if they're infants and children and governed, hence the term nanny state. So that's the basic choice we have. And the liberation of South Africa, for example, black people who were prohibited from having alcohol by the apartheid regime as one of its means of oppression, and when they were allowed to get it only from a government store, and then eventually from a back window at a private liquor outlet. So we're going right back to that prohibition, which has been with us since Lord Milner's liquor proclamation of 2007, of treating people as if they are not emancipated and empowered. It actually is not about health. Because if you accept the logic of this, then, for example, according to the Department of Health, the biggest single cause of death in South Africa is HIV/AIDS. It then makes sense to make unprotected or extramarital sex illegal, to ban it. And if you accept the principle that people's personal lifestyle and freedom of association and choice and property rights can be sacrificed on the altar of their own good, well, then there's no stopping it. Then everything you do, dangerous activities, dangerous sports, being obese, you can ban obesity. You can, obviously, we've already talking in the Department of Health about restrictions on salt and sugar. And if you're going to ban, for example, branding of tobacco, then you must also go for liquor, and we need to have compulsory pictures on wine glasses of cirrhosis liver, of diseased livers on bottles. There is no stopping. Then, to places like McDonald's, fast food outlets will have to start looking ugly. They won't be able to have branding. We'll have age restrictions. Yeah. That's actually being seriously considered. So it really is about what kind of society one wants to live in, a free society or an unfree society. Let me just make the observation that the biggest decline in smoking, since that's the primary issue here, took place from the 1970s to about 1990, about a 50% decline, when government policy here and elsewhere was education, treating the public with respect, saying these are the risks you run and encouraging people not to run those risks. Since then, there has been a flattening out, and the more anti-tobacco, what I call nicotine Nazism, has intensified. The position it's flattened out. All countries of the world, all regions of the world now have increased tobacco production. And so the gains we were making when it was based on the concept of free people in free societies, where government's health policy was cooperation and education rather than control, that is when we had the biggest gains in health behavior by ordinary people. On the other hand, if they're told how to live their lives, we should expect people to be defiant, especially the youth, and we should be going to see with tobacco, liquor and junk food what we've seen with other drugs.
Well, first of all, Xolani, let's be honest about what Mr. Lowe represents, the Free Market Foundation. They are working on one basic principle: profit at all costs. It doesn't matter how many people that profit kills. It's free. They're free to make profits, and you must allow them to do so. That is one basic principle of what he represents. Now, you must understand that I cannot work from that principle, because if I do, a lot of people, as you said, will never survive. Now, the second thing I want to mention, Xolani, remember, these things are not done in South Africa only. Just to give you an example, the issue of smoking was adopted by the 56th World Health Assembly of the World Health Organization as what is called the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, as far back as 2003. It was ratified by Parliament in South Africa in 2005. At that time, only 9 countries on the African continent had ratified it. By December last year, December 2012, 41 member states in Africa region have ratified it. In other words, the number increased from 2005 from 9 countries to 41, meaning more and more countries are ratifying this. And what is it? It's a legally binding global instrument and consists of measures to reduce the demand for tobacco in the population, because it's meant to counter the globalization of the tobacco epidemic, to reduce health and other consequences of tobacco use. I'm not sure why Mr. Lou said it has got nothing to do with health. I'm reading the convention here in front of me by the World Organization, ratified by member states. It says it is to counter the globalization of tobacco epidemic and reduce the health and other consequences of tobacco use. And it's a legally binding document. It ends up by saying member states who ratify it have to make national laws in their own countries. In other words, actually, if I read it directly, it says countries that have ratified the World Organization Framework Convention have an obligation to adopt measures through national law. That's exactly what I'm doing.